Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm between Fred, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, V, and you?
I'm doing good. Today in studio we have Wings of Steel, the most covered band here on Creativity Talking. Why? Because they're the best fucking metal band that you're gonna find, and they definitely have the best album this century. And I can say that without any worries because it's true. Go check it out. Go buy it today. Go buy some merch. And so, how was your week, Fred?
Good, good. Got some yard work done because the weather is early spring, looks like, and got a few concerts coming up. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, can't complain. Can never complain.
Well, you can always complain, but would anyone care?
Nobody gives a crap.
Exactly. So, without further ado, look at that rock
Well,
and
we
roll
got
personified.
we got coming to us from Los Angeles, California, the guitar player Parker Halab, and coming to us from Germany, Leo Udemark, the vocalist of Wings of Steel.
What's up,
Morning,
guys?
afternoon, guys. How
Going.
are you? Great to see you again.
Good to be back.
And for
Yeah,
those who don't know, they're
privilege and an honor.
yeah, Wings of Steel are taking over the world. They're another step towards world domination. So let's talk about the tour right off the bat, guys.
Because I got my official Wings of Steel shirt on, got
Nice.
my autographed albums.
Look at that.
So
You're missing
we're
my
all ready,
signature.
man. I'll get your signature, Leo. You'll be on there, buddy. You'll be on there.
I'm happy Parker didn't sports it.
Yeah. So it's great to see you guys. The album is getting justified praise that it deserved. When I first heard it back in July, when I reviewed it for Metal Temple, I believe the first words I put in my review were, "Holy fuck, what is this?" It was that good. And I got a hold of Vince and I said, "You got to check this album out." And we got you guys on for an interview. And I think we both agreed that it's without a doubt. And there was some incredible music released in 2023. Incredible. But you guys, without a doubt, had our album of the year and one of the best albums we've heard in a long time. So kudos to that, guys.
That means a lot for us to hear. Again, we're very happy to be back and chatting with you guys. Always good hanging out, and yeah, we're very happy with the album. It's almost been a year. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And we feel
So-
like proud uncles, having taken you guys under our wing. Just that, this is a band everyone should hear. We covered you guys. I think we've done. This is with everything, with reaction videos and everything. This is like 14th appearance. So you guys are like the number one guest, most frequent guest, most frequently talked about band on our podcast, and not an internationally signed band. So that says volumes, man, for your music. I mean, it really does. Cream rises to the top.
Well,
Yeah, that's cool.
we're glad to be here a 14th time, man. It's we love being on the show with you guys, and we love all the support, man. It's been great, seeing all the reaction videos and everything. It's it's really cool for us to see that, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, that could have been a better quality picture, but look at those guys, stage presence, the music to boot. So how was it when you guys played? Fred, you flew out to the whiskey show, correct?
I did not. I wish I did, but I did not make your whiskey show. That's the videos that we covered.
You were hanging with Parker at the whiskey.
I was at the whiskey. I saw
they were at a show.
And, yeah. That's why I just told Vince. I said, "Damn, I wish we would have known about you guys just a month before the whiskey show." But I've been at the whiskey, which was great, and Parker and I did hang at Leather Wolf, and then again Lizzie Borden just about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I met your guitar player Mike as well. I believe we'll be touring with you, right? Stefan?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Stefan. Okay. He was a cool guy. So whiskey is it's iconic, right? I mean, it's nothing special. It's small, it's cramped, it's dirty, it's dingy, but it's every band that has made it from that era played
Well,
there.
Yeah, it's
So-
got some historical stains in there, you know.
oh yeah,
Oh,
the
it's
history
amazing.
just oozes from that place.
Think about the bands that have been through there, and it's amazing. So seeing bands there, you guys were able to be there. Now you're going to be part of that legacy when you hit it big here real soon, because you got tours coming up, which we're going to talk about. But I assume the album has got to be selling really well for you now, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've sold sold a lot of CDs. I think somewhere in the neighborhood. I think we've sold around 2,000 copies of the CD. You know, keep in mind we're an independent band, and this is 2024. You know, CD is not the primary means of listening. So that's, you know,
Right, you got to break someone's arm to buy something physical. You know?
yeah. I mean, that support right there has been huge. And then back in December, we finally released the vinyls. So those have been selling really well too. And I mean, it's, you know, just from our thing as a band. I mean, you know, to write and record some music and then to finally see it like pressed on the actual vinyl and to, you know, see it's you know, it's a really cool like full circle perspective. So as far as the album goes, I mean, that's kind of been the big updates. You know, it's definitely when you release music, you know, the first few months you have that big, you know, all the hype, all the stuff, and then it kind of levels off for a bit.
Right.
So I mean, it's leveled off, but I mean, the thing is too is like it really, considering it's almost been like a year, it's still we still get a lot of hype from it. It's still growing a lot, and it's I mean, it's been kind of incredible to see it go out into the world and see how people are interacting with it, and yeah, so it's been really cool.
Well, I can't
Yeah.
wait to see the bump after the festivals you guys are doing. You know,
Hopefully, you know, festivals are, you know, great way for us to be put in front of the crowd who, generally speaking, digs stuff like that, you know. So hopefully that will be a little bump for us as well.
Yeah.
So has there been any talk with any major labels to kind of hop on board with any of those? So self-releasing has got to be tough with all the promotion and everything. Have you talked to any major labels?
Well, yeah, since we put out the new album, we've had a few more people come and talk to us, but you know, the thing is this is that you know, we try to look at things in the grand scheme of, because the band is also a business, and you know, like any other business, you need capital to finance your endeavors. And so the thing is that now, you know, Leo and I have we've got two releases under our belt. We have, you know, a pretty decent knowledge of how to produce it, how to market it, how to sell it, how to make money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that if we were to there in turn give those rights over to a label, I mean, sure, it would be great to not be the guy who has to go and pack up all the CDs and ship them out and do all that, you know, that labor. But at the same time, you know, if we sign a deal with a record company where they effectively take the lion's share of the income, the problem is then, you know, that was previously our income. Even though we had to work for it, it was ours, and that income goes into the band. So
Right.
I mean, all these vinyls, you know, I don't know how much we emphasize it, but like, it's really cool because we released our music on vinyl, and the sale of those vinyls is actually like, that's what's financing our European tour pretty much.
Right.
So like, you know, we wouldn't be able to do that if we were signed to a label and the label was effectively taking the lion's share of the money from those music sales. So from where we're at right now, you know, a deal needs, if we were to enter into a deal, it basically needs to make sure that all of our bases are covered. So that's not just, okay, pay for the record and then you're on your own for the touring. Because for us, you know, it's you know, you have the releasing of the music itself, and then you have the actual playing live. I think those are two equally important aspects of being a band. And if we give one of those things over, it's going to affect our ability to go and play live. So that's pretty much why we are still an independent band, actually.
And it'll
Yeah.
affect your tour income as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these
Yeah,
They're going to have their hands.
That's a whole other thing, you know. Yeah, but
and then merch and da da da, and you know.
Yeah, you know, they'll you know, there's all kinds of deals and all kinds of terms where they will.
And
try
it's
to
not always the best thing to get signed to a label.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've managed to do what we're doing now, and I mean, quite frankly, there's other, nothing negative against,
Sure, right.
against these bands or against what they do musically, but in terms of how they've done success with their sales and their numbers and everything, like,
Yeah.
we're doing pretty much just as well as a lot of other bands in our position that are already signed to a label. So we figured, well, if we know how to do it, let's
Yeah, you guys figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just wonder
as long as our sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, you wonder if a label would cut into the creativity process too, saying, let's try to get a radio-friendly song, or let's throw a ballad in there. Would they hamper some of your creativity? Where you guys go into the studio now and you say, we're just doing what we want to do.
I think when it comes to major labels like the big leagues, that happens for sure. In terms of like the more, mid-tier heavy metal labels, they're actually pretty flexible with that, and they'll allow artists to do their work for the most part, at least from what I've heard regarding most of these labels. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Of course, that's something you got to make sure that you have the control and rights of, because
of course,
if not that, then what's it all for, really?
Yeah, and a lot of these labels now are just basically distributors. The artists come to them with a fully formed product. Here you go, da da da, and then
there's that and promotion, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty the thing. The reason why the industry is so different and like now as opposed to like 30 years ago is because the big medium that people are listening to music on is digitally, and the thing is that labels and independent artists basically have the same. I mean, okay, there's some few small exceptions here and there, but they pretty much, like, whether you're an independent dude living in your parents' basement, or you're fucking Miley Cyrus or whoever the fuck is on the biggest label there is, like, you're pretty much gonna have the same digital platform reach.
Right.
Now, the difference between being on a label and being in your mom's basement is if you're Miley Cyrus and you're working with, I don't know whatever label she's on right now, like, she has people who know they can get their, she'll have all the big advertising. They'll get her on all the big Spotify and Apple Music playlists. So, you'll get a lot more exposure you wouldn't have necessarily got. But at the same time, fundamentally, her music is there and the dude from his basement's music is also there. So it's a different playing field, and we're kind of just seeing where we can take it,
And, having, now that we're, a year and a half, 2 years into doing tunage and like looking for bands, and now we started Monday Metal and always on the search for new music, and you're the bar. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not going to do that one. Not going to do that one. Not going to do that. Just the great thing about the internet and the technology is that everyone can put their music out. And the worst thing about the internet is everyone can put their music out.
Definitely.
And no offense to anyone. Like, if you are able to record an album and write songs and get it down, more power to you. But there's levels of quality and coherence. And
that's always going to be the difficult thing, to kind of push through, since there's so many bands, so much people of everything doing everything, right? So, like, getting through that initial barricade is kind of difficult, and that's really where, if you have your fans who support you, buy the music, share, spreading the word around, that's the best way to get there, and that's only going to happen if the music's any good to have in the first place. So I think the formula can still be pretty straightforward, but it does require that the music is really good and that you really appreciate what the fans do for you, because let's face it, if it weren't for the fans, then what would we be?
Oh, exactly. And your stuff is very well produced, and so kudos to your guys on the self-produced album. But like when I'm going on the search, I'm only listening to 3 seconds, so I'm acting just like in the old days. Someone would pop. Do I like that? Do I hear a riff I like? There's a lot of bands that are the same band right now. So, and then there's certain, there's like a genre, like, oh, let's have an AC/DC band, so there's a lot of AC/DC types, and a lot of them are great. I'm not bashing it, but it makes it easier once you hear something in that 3-second span. You're like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then but a lot of times you're like, wow,
Yeah.
And then there's certain things I don't like. Me and Fred don't like Cookie Monster rock. So as soon as someone goes, we're out. Just takes us out of it. It's not our thing. And it's great for everyone who does.
Yeah. If I may add too onto that is, I think the sound is very, very important. The sound that the band has, because anyone could go in and you listen to 3 seconds and be like, oh, this is exactly what I want. But then you take a band such as us who has a lot of different types of songs. So just because you heard one thing doesn't mean that you heard anywhere near what the album experience is, So, but if you go in and you're like, oh man, this is the sound that I've been wanting. This is the sound that I love. Yeah. And it piques the interest to listen to the next thing. I think the sound is crucial when it comes to, today's way of listening through music, for sure.
Absolutely.
And if I hear something that I like in 3 seconds, I go and find out what else they have out there, because if that, that 3 seconds can grab me, of course, everything else, other things will be just as good. But your entire, both your albums are just, every track is great. And that's, there's no fluff. And you can always tell when artists are like, oh shit, I got one more song they got to do, blah.
You got a deadline.
Yeah. And
I see.
Would it put more pressure? Like, okay, guys, here's the deal. You've got 2 weeks to record now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I feel like it happens a lot where, you sign on with a band for, 2 or 3 records. You do the first one, and then you kind of, maybe you start something else. You're more excited about that, but you still got to put out another 2 records within the span of 2-3 years or whatever. So now you're having to do this. And I think you end up hearing a lot of those albums coming out as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay, so let's talk about. Let's go through these festivals you're doing.
Yeah, so pretty much. I mean, this whole tour started actually because if you look at the second date there on the tour flyer, it's the Keep It True Festival. So it was probably about a year ago now at this point, maybe not quite, around the time when we put out the album actually, but
the music video probably.
Yeah, but we got asked to do the Keep It True Festival. It's a great festival. It's like the mecca of underground heavy metal. All these great bands from all over the world. It's a really, it seems like a really cool environment. So we're really excited to do that. But we said, well, we're going out there to do this festival. Let's, the obvious thing would be to build a tour off of it, because it costs like $1,000 to fly out there. Let's get our money's worth. So lucky for us, Leo has been Leo just moved over to Germany, so we have a place to crash the whole time we're there.
Right.
And so pretty
that's a major importance, because that
saves us a lot of money, which is
totally
awesome. But yeah, so we pretty much just built the tour off of there. So a couple other, the week before we're doing a festival called No Playback Festival, another cool festival in the southern Germany region. Their whole thing is like, there's no backing tracks. None of the bands play with backing tracks. Like, great, we're a live
they're bands.
Tracks, yeah.
I still don't understand that whole,
Yeah, but yeah, then that, there's also a Rock Hard Fest that's in May, and then we have some, then we got to do some headline shows.
We got the very Metalheads Festival as well.
Yep. So yeah, I mean it'll be good because we get a few festival dates. We'll get to play in front of some bigger audiences and get some wider exposure like that. But we also have several headline dates where we get to like really it's like a 90-minute set. We get to really go and play our music and put on a real show and let people know what we're about. So we're really excited for it. I mean,
Yeah, and I googled those the fests, and there are a lot of, like you said, underground bands, but there are some decent names there. Gravedigger, Heavy Load, Velvet Viper, Sacred Steel. So there are some big names. So you're gonna draw
when we
a
had
lot of people to those shows.
we had Brian Tatler on from Diamond Head and Saxon. We made him write your band name down, and he did go and check out your album. I said you guys would be great for the opening slot for Saxon. Like they're already in you. They're right there. Leo just moved to Germany. And so we said, you guys were the best band that we've heard yet. And so, the king
Thank you.
who wrote
We would be all for it.
Oh hell yeah!
He did write it down. We saw him writing it down, so we know he wrote it down.
Yeah, we know the Dream Theater guys are also aware of you guys. So we, every time we talk, we're constantly, because it's cool to see, man. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, having been in the business in and out for decades, you see a lot of people who don't necessarily deserve it or didn't put in the hard work or whatever. However you view it, it's all personal bullshit anyway. But it's nice to see good guys who write their own music, know what they're doing, are doing things the right way, rise to the top, man. And it's, we knew when we first heard it, we're like, oh my God, it's like that, it's like we knew what we had as soon as Fred sent that over. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, no.
He owes me.
Yeah. I'm like, damn it. So I'm still trying to find a band that hits your mark.
Yeah, and I was listening to it again this morning.
Go ahead, Leo.
Working out, I was listening to it again, and every song on there is like my favorite until I heard the next one. I go, oh shit, that's my favorite now. And it's all 10 tracks are amazing.
Go ahead, Leo.
Thank you. No, I was just on the note of opening for bigger bands and stuff. Like I'm sure we've all gone to some headline shows where the opener is like, it doesn't really make sense, or maybe it does make sense, but they could be a lot better or a lot more appropriate to whatever's going on. I think a lot of the time it's decided within the label and stuff like that. Right. So obviously being an independent band, kind of on the outside of that whole shenanigans happening. But that's also why it's so good that you guys spread the word, because every time someone, the name comes across from whatever direction, there's a little voice that's going to start talking in the back of your head. And hopefully at some point we'll come across one of our paid promos or something, they'll be like, there they are, But yeah, I think that's a natural next step for us, is to hopefully get on tour with a bigger band, which is actually what we're hoping to get done for US this year.
Yeah, and one of the best things to hear is like, when I keep hearing about these guys. It's like that's the best sentence you want to have in the
You want to be the best kind of nuisance that you can be,
Right. Yeah. And then when they listen, they're like, oh, okay, duh.
I asked this question to a band we had on the other day, and I'll ask you guys, just out of curiosity, would you rather headline a show in front of, let's say, 2,500 people and play for 2 hours, or be on a opening for someone and only play for 45 minutes, but there's like 15,000 people there?
Well, I mean, there's
two answers to that question, because from a person, I mean, 2,500 people is a lot of people. That's a pretty large size theater. That's going to be one hell of an audience. There's going to be a lot of energy in there. So playing a 2-hour set to that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's House of Blues.
Yeah. So totally. But I mean, here's the thing. I will say too, like from a business standpoint, I mean, also just from a standpoint, getting to play with some, huge, one of our favorite bands like Priest or Maiden or any of these titans of heavy metal. I mean, opening up for, a band playing for 45 minutes in front of 15,000 people, that would also be fucking awesome. So, either or, man, either or. But that's a cool question.
Yeah, we got to get you. You guys got to. We got to get whoever's in charge of booking Whackin' Festival. Get these guys on it right now.
Get them on. Get them on.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be like.
Yeah, we're working our way to it, man. But I do like that question, Fred. I think what I'd like to add to that is, like Parker said, from a business standpoint, I'm sure there's a lot of benefit to doing the bigger thing, and like I said, it's a natural step and it's all good. But even playing in front of a smaller crowd can sometimes be, I feel like that can be a more personal experience, or a personable experience.
Right.
See, it's at the end of the day, I think it's all about the connection that you feel. It's not always is the biggest place going to be the thing that where you really feel that connection, right? So sometimes a smaller place can actually make you feel that even more. So, and it's a difficult one to answer. I think you got to go through all those places until you know.
I mean,
yeah, and I think a good band is like a good restaurant. If you get 200 people through the door in a restaurant and it's good, they're going to tell people, and the word's going to spread like you guys.
Yeah.
2,500
we survive
people come
we
to see
survive
you.
on tips, so it's perfect.
Yeah, and also too, like with the smaller shows, you're able to do more nuanced performance versus if you're playing for 20,000 people, your performance has to be more broad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing is, if we go, I mean, it's we in a certain sense we are kind of doing this on this tour where the festivals, yeah, we pretty much have about a 45-minute set, and then when we do the headline shows, we have a full thing. So there's stuff that we're planning to play on the headline shows. It's like really cool, detailed, maybe stuff that you would consider like a deep cut or a B-side from the album that you won't necessarily get to hear at the festival, because we have a shorter time period. We kind of have to condense it all down into one thing. Whereas when you have more time, you can paint a grander picture, so to speak.
You're gonna be able to videotape any of those. Maybe get them out on YouTube.
Hopefully.
Some of those shows, that'd be great to see you guys live.
Yeah.
What about equipment sponsors? You got any equipment sponsors yet?
Unfortunately not, but
oh really?
But I think we have a lot of
change that.
Yeah. hopefully one day soon that'll change. But I mean, we're working with a lot of really great local support bands for a lot of these tours and festivals. So we're gonna have we'll have people helping us out to get all the gear, and we'll have everything we need to sound just as good as we need to sound.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, sure. You should have equipment companies sponsoring you guys. See if we can hook you guys up.
Probably gonna meet a ton of people on these tours that hook you up with some stuff.
Oh, for sure.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say too, kind of, I mean, going off on another slightly different direction, but I mean, just from a general thing, I think on a per country basis, the U.S. is our biggest audience. And this is when we look at how many CDs we've sold, where people are streaming our music, where people are from our social media and all that. But overall, we put Germany, France, Sweden, Switzerland, put these countries from Europe together. Europe is actually a slightly bigger audience than the U.S. is. But I mean, we want to go out there and see both. But I mean, just being able to see one of them at all is going to be great. So we're really excited to get out there and meet a lot of these people that have been they've bought our CDs and they've been interacting with us on our social media. And I think it'll be really cool to just get out there and be in person, and play. And I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to give back is to give back in person. So it's going to be great that we finally get to do that.
Well, absolutely. And American audiences are a lot more fickle. They're easily fooled by the marketing machine, and then they're on to the next thing. And heavy metal is more popular in Europe and Japan and abroad than it is here. And I never understood that. The audiences here, they just don't.
I mean, it's a different thing. There's
a different live culture.
Yeah,
For sure.
but fundamentally, it's this. There's beautiful, crazy motherfuckers in Europe who love our music and go
Right.
crazy. There's beautiful, crazy motherfuckers in the United States that go crazy.
Oh, for sure.
They're everywhere, and we want to get out there to as many of them as we possibly can. That's fundamentally what it is.
Oh, like I've had conversations over the years, and people are like, "Heavy metal's still around." And I look at them like they just like killed my dog.
That's an appropriate look to give them, I think. Absolutely.
What do you?
Yeah,
yes,
there's
it's still out. What are you kidding me? But
Yeah,
people who are fickle like that, like I'm just saying, like the average consumer, not the genre fans. You know what I mean?
No,
Genre
totally.
fans are always going to be there. But
Yeah, there's a theater out by me.
For Maiden or Priest, Queensryche, Jeff Tate, Saxon, the list goes. I mean, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you just if you go in the water and you swim out a little further and then you look beneath the surface, there's this depth of a lot of cool bands coming out, a lot of good music in the making, and a lot of good shit to come. Because
sure. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. But it's just people are afraid to swim.
Yeah, and I think I think these festivals are going to do people who are booking other festivals are going to be there. So they're going to see what's going on. So basically, this is like your introduction to the world, and on a world stage, so to speak. But I think next year you're going that schedule there for festivals will be a lot longer.
I think this is doing this tour. It's kind of like it's almost like it's the missing piece of our machine. We've gone and we've released this music and we've dialed that in really well. Now it's the other half of the equation. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna deliver it to people live. And I think once we have both of those things firing, it's gonna be a nice. It's gonna increase our trajectory nicely.
So, for sure, yeah. I would love.
I mean,
to look on your guys' faces once to see the first crowd.
And I mean, this whole tour pretty much is based on me and Parker, reaching out to a lot of places and trying to make anything happen, that would make sense, and then just booking whatever we could that made sense logistically and that we could afford, basically. So
right.
On the note of that, I know both me and Parker, we wish that we could have added more countries and more dates to this list, but the reality of the situation is for this year, being independent and all that stuff, this is the best we could do. So hopefully at least it's a good start, but it can only go one way from here.
Well, yeah, you have to be smart about it. I mean, there's no other, you put all this work into it up to this point.
I think you got to be realistic, but you got to always push the boundaries, because just staying realistic, you're never going to move anywhere. We only have one lifetime in this with this stuff. So
yeah, I will add to what Leo said too. There's a lot of places, and I know we're calling it a European tour, and there's a lot of places in Europe that we won't be going to, but
sure,
Central European expedition.
Trust us, there are many corners of the European area that we will very much be getting to as soon as we get the chance. Almost definitely in 2025, for sure.
And hopefully with this, we'll start receiving some more invites as well from festivals around, and yeah, it should be.
It's a combination of the opportunities we get, but also the resources we have to make these opportunities happen. So I think as those two things increase, you will be seeing more Wings of Steel in more corners of the globe. So
absolutely,
we ain't going nowhere, man.
Yeah, so I've moved across country twice, and Leo, how is it to move to another country?
Yeah, so actually, right now I'm coming to you live from Sweden because I just flew back here from Germany 2 days ago. But yeah, dude, I'm flying around like a glove everywhere right now. It's crazy, but I think it's always an interesting experience. It's a natural unfolding of the chapters of life. I think it makes sense that I'm there for the time being right now, and we'll see where I'm at in a couple of years.
Now, how does that work with the EU? You can move freely within the EU. Is that how? Once you're in...
It's very easy to just get around. I don't have to adhere to any 90-day kind of principle where I'll get kicked out and banned.
Right.
There's none of that, so I can basically go wherever I want to in the EU, and just pretty much just stick around. One-way tickets.
Right on, right on. So are you guys writing new music? What's going on with the up and
Well,
coming stuff?
perpetually as musicians, we're constantly coming up with stuff.
Yeah.
I think we probably, when you asked us that last, it was probably what we that's our but no. But so here's the the main plan for 24 for us is we're gonna be doing this. We're doing this European tour. That's the first thing, and then we're shopping around. We're still trying to put together the U.S. expedition. So stay tuned. As soon as that's out, I'm sure you guys will all know about it. And then after that, Leo and I are gonna get to work on Wings of Steel #3. So I sit right here all the time.
Yeah.
I'll crank out some demos. Leo's chilling there with his guitar. He'll come up with some ideas. So we got a lot of ammunition going into this thing. I mean, realistically,
Oh, yeah.
we're kind of at the point where we have so many ideas. We could probably write like 3 or 4 records just based off of all the ideas we have stacked up. So there'll be no,
Yeah.
realistically, we'll probably sit down and come up with some new stuff anyways. But
And
Right.
So
it's funny because
guys,
I can't.
oh, go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, so I keep getting asked the question, like, don't you guys feel more under pressure? Like you got to live up to whatever you just put out and stuff like that. And I think it's the complete opposite. I think I speak for Parker as well, whereas I don't think I've ever been this stoked on writing music in my life. It's just fueled this flame that sprung into this wildfire, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. It's truly a beautiful feeling, and I cannot wait to be back with you, Parker, in that room and bust out some jams, bro.
hell yeah, man, hell yeah.
So I know, Leo, you write all the lyrics, and we've talked about lyrics before, you and I absolutely love your lyrics. So if an idea comes into your head, Leo, do you get Parker on the phone and say, "Hey, here's something"? You guys kind of putz around with stuff in between, having an album.
I mean, in the same way that Parker, sends me demos and I'll send him little snippets of playing guitar and singing. Like sometimes I'll send him like a black video of me reading him like a poem that I've written or something like that, And I keep my notebooks everywhere, and they all have words in them, a lot of words. And the same goes for my phone, pretty much. So there's no shortage of that. But
Yeah,
I try not to cling to any one page. It's just an evolutionary kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, it's usually on a the demo is either in the form of your basic sound recording on the phone or video or whatever, or I mean, like I have Logic Pro. That's a digital audio thing where you can record. So I mean, sometimes I'll have an idea, I'll lay it down in there, and I go, oh, okay, that'll be cool. Maybe I'll take it here, and I'll write a whole fucking demo. I'll put drums in there, I'll put bass in there, I'll put melody, So, I mean, when you come up with something, you don't know how much of the idea is going to be. Maybe you just come up with the riff and that's it. Sometimes there's a whole song. So yeah, you never know. But the creative process is always going. It never stops.
And
Yeah,
it's got
I
to come
think
to you
it's-
whenever, right? You're just sitting there, and something comes to you, and you start writing or playing, right?
Absolutely. I think we get the same feeling when Parker sits down with the guitar. When I go to sing, or it's that feeling when you come home, you've been working all week, you take like a glass of whiskey and start listening to music, and you get that big sigh of relief. And it's kind of like living in that sigh, and the sigh just like never stops. It's the same thing when I sit down with like my incense stick or whatever, and I start like writing, and the words kind of just come through, and most of it I never look at again, but it's living within that sigh, living within that moment, and just not being so concerned about everything else.
Yeah, because sometimes you have to write, 20, 30, 40, sets of lyrics for nothing in particular until you get a good one. And you never know if it's going to work or not. Now, do you write for the song?
Sometimes
Or do you like, oh, I got this lyric hold on, let me go grab that.
I was just gonna say, actually, I think it's both. Sometimes I think I'll hear something that we've been working on, or that Parker has sent me, and immediately it paints a vivid picture, and then all I want to do is just write something that can kind of put to words what it is that's going on. pretty impossible task to begin with, and I don't think you can ever really, with words, communicate what the music says. But it's a fun game. It's a very fun game, and you can get better at it.
Something I'll say with that too. I remember, I think it was one of the teachers, or I was watching some guy doing a lecture or something like that. And he put it really well. He said, if you put 4 musicians on stage, you might as well just put 4 blenders on stage if they're not listening to each other.
Right.
But it becomes music when everybody else is listening to each other. And so, from a songwriting perspective, I think when you come up with one idea, everything else, it's almost like it's a mirror. An algebra equation. I don't look at music like math, but in a sense, if you look at an algebra equation, you got like one variable that and then the rest is, you don't know what it is. But because you know that one thing, everything else is actually implied. So That's kind of, if I have a riff, we know, okay, with this riff, it's going to have this kind of a bass line. It's going to have this kind of a groove. You're going to have this kind of a melody over it. And everything plays off of each other. And it's not it's not an analytical thing. Like, I don't know, okay, he's playing E flat to F to G. Okay, so he's going to, no.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. It's more of a feeling thing that you kind of sense. But
it's creative vision. It's creative vision. I think that's how we formed our band to begin with. That's how we met. We both had a vision going into it, and then we were fortunate enough to meet each other, and it all springs from there.
When you say about the listening part, like now there's a lot of people guesting on other people's stuff, and they get the session fee and all that stuff, and man, there's nothing worse when you're listening to a great tune and the guy just punches in his part and he didn't listen to the song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's
not listening. Sometimes you can really hear ego on top of music.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, why'd you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that sometimes with especially with blues. It might be a really like slow blues track and like, oh man, this is so nice, and then that band or whatever has a guitar player who's obviously not very blues influenced or whatever, and just goes off on like Shredville, and there's no sense of stops or respect or anything in there. It's just and that happens a lot with vocalists too.
Stops and respects to the music though, but there's
absolutely
there's a difference. You have to do it with the music. You can't do it over the music.
Dude, some of the best blues musicians are some of the best shredders in the world. Absolutely. Like Walter Trout, even Bonamassa can shred. And then, I always pull up Dave Manichetti, who I think is the perfect mixture between blues and heavy metal. I'll even say Gary Moore on that one too.
Oh, Gary Moore's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to have the sensibility, and I was listening to, now sometimes it works. Like I was listening to a couple of songs last week. I can't remember the band. But what, you had the fabric of the song, and then the guitar came across and played across the grain, but it made perfect sense in that instance because that's totally cool that he played across. Everyone, it was in a different time signature and the whole nine, and it was like, okay, cool.
If you're listening to the band, that doesn't mean that you can't do something completely different.
Right.
Yeah. It has to work with it, It can
common tone.
It's music, man. You can do whatever the fuck you want, right. But it's
yeah, well, a lot of people don't know that they're so structured, that they're uptight about it, It's like, don't be too married to your song ever when you're writing it, because you may keep 3 seconds of that song that turns into your best well-known song for the next 10 years. You never know.
And that's what our good friend the shelf is for,
Yeah, and like writing lyrics, I always thought it was hilarious that David Lee Roth would write down sayings and put them in a hat, and that's and he just pull it out, and that's how he wrote Van Halen songs. I think that's great.
It's that. Oh my god, yeah, that sounds so David Lee Roth. I had no idea. That's funny.
Yeah, he'd go around. He'd drive around in his Mercury and his red Mercury for the Panama video, and he'd sit in the back seat, write just nonsensical stuff, and then he'd start pulling out of a hat. I think that's hilarious. And
we do the same thing. We pull it out of our asses.
I remember one time. Okay, so I was a singer in a band, blah blah blah, and I had literally I had a box of lyrics, and I was moving, and I didn't want that box to get fucked up or miss whatever. So I'm taking it to my buddy's house. Dude, guard this box with your life. His fucking roommate threw it away, thought it was garbage. I'm like, did you look inside? They're like, yeah, it was a bunch of papers. I'm like, with writing on it? Like, you could tell. I mean, we were all going to school for music. Like, hello? Like, you didn't know that was a box of fucking lyrics.
Oh, man.
Oh, that was crushing. But I'm like,
That's
oh,
rough, man.
if I wrote those, I could write another box, you know, but.
That's the right mentality right there.
Man. That's rough. That's really rough.
Oh, you know, I was like, oh my God. You know, and sometimes
It's like our computer like burning down before we backed up all the material for like the albums and shit.
I back everything up. Everything is backed up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those little nightmares. You know, it's like the worst thing, I have nightmares, but they're work nightmares. And they're from old jobs. I'll wake up in the dream and I'm at my old job. No, like that's like the worst, you know.
Yeah.
But I've had panic dreams about losing that box over the years. But you know, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
It's the universe telling you to start working on a new box, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started. I just fuck it. I'll just write books now. Yeah. Once I got to a point, I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna be as good as this, that, the other, you know. But I'm good behind the scenes. I'm fine with it, you know.
No, yeah, well, that's what heavy metal is about in all aspects of life. It's not about living up to someone else's ideals or whatever. It's about doing what you want and what you feel good about doing. No rules implied.
Right. I'll be better if I go over here, you know.
And I'll say that too on what Leo just said. It's kind of interesting. So think heavy metal. I guess this is rock music in general. It's kind of in a paradoxical state because where things are at, like a lot of you know, there's a lot of it's been done back in the 70s and 80s and previous decades. But so on one hand, you have people who are like they're influenced by these people and they're copying all these other bands. They're playing it by the rules, right?
Right.
Then you know you have the fundamental spirit of the style of music, which is to go against the rules. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of an interesting, you know, paradox that you'll see come up with different newer rock bands in the today's world.
Yeah, like I started as an artist. I'm a really good artist. So I went all the way to where I could draw photorealistic. I learned all the rules. And then I took the rule book and threw it away and went abstract.
Mm-hmm.
And I love doing that, you know. But, you know, people, it's almost better sometimes not to know the rules.
Yep.
You know, you're not ignorant.
Absolutely.
You're just ignorant of the fact that that's a rule, and you just blaze right over it. People are like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, oh, well, I just did. You know, oh, okay.
I mean, all mistakes is taking expected shit on a detour, you know? That's cool, man. That you can come up with real cool shit like that.
Right. Yeah, the universe expected it, but you didn't.
Everybody followed the rules. What a fucking boring world this would be, man. Think about it.
Goodness.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, man, you just do what you want to do, and that's it. You know, if you wanna start a tribute band and sound like some other band, even if you want to start your own thing and sound like some other band, that's fine. If you want to do whatever you want to do, you just do it, man. Life's too short right now. You know, just go for it.
Yeah, you know, like a lot of my buddies have problems with cover bands and this, that, and the other. And like, what? I'm like, that's great. You have your convictions, but do you want to be a working musician? Or do you want to have your own stuff and sit in your garage? Because now here, it's hard to get people, smaller up and coming bands, to play originals. Everyone will book a cover band or a tribute, you know, and that's just a good way to get. You know, we started Tunage to push people to the Saturday show. You know, because you know, and now it's starting to work. So. You know, you get them on one to get them to the other, and a lot of the music that we're covering is international, not sung in English. Me and Jason are, Jason the Knuckle Dragger. Happy birthday, buddy!
Happy birthday.
So we don't understand what they're singing about, but you can feel it because it's a tune, it's music. You can feel what they're saying. You don't necessarily need to know. You can tell that they're hitting the notes and everything's fine. Sure, it'd be better if I understood.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
still loving it, you know.
on the same note, therein lies the beauty of listening to instrumental music. You know, you may not understand, but you know.
Right.
You know? And I mean, I listen to stuff too that's in a different language. I have no idea what the dude is saying, but there's something about his voice that I connect with, you know?
Oh, totally. And it's like,
or hers.
Oh, but they're singing in, you know, in whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. You know, like going back to the blues and ego and, you know, some of the best shredders or blues guys. I had a guy, friend of mine, really good guitar player when it came to other people's music. Couldn't write a note and refused to listen to the blues.
Well, I think those two things might go hand in hand in some cases.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like, all your improv, you know, dude, if you want to learn improvisational skills, start playing the blues. If you want to know what you're playing now, you want to know why that is, listen to the blues. It'll, you know.
Yeah, you know, I think improvisation should, and in most cases probably does, stem from the way that you're in touch with your own emotional self, right?
Yeah.
If you start thinking about improvisation in terms of scales and all these external factors that you learn, and you objectify the whole thing, it's not going to come in a natural way. If you look, you know, more within and you kind of just express what it is that you're sensing, utilizing your instrument, then there you have it. It's not so tricky anymore.
Right. Yeah, it always blew my mind that he wouldn't play the blues. It just, I didn't get it.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, like, blues is not the only style of music that you can really connect with in that place. You can get that in heavy metal, in funk, in, like, you know, jazz, even in modern stuff. People get that. I mean, people at raves, sure, it might partially be the drugs. That can be said for rock and roll too. But they get in touch with in their innermost being, where they just let loose. You know, it's all about that. You can even go back to tribal times. That's where it all stems from. You know, everyone has that within them, that part where you can get in touch with, and it doesn't really matter which music it is. The thing about the blues is that the sad side of us is a part that most of us can really relate to, and I think that's why it's awesome.
Yeah, like, there's no way that I'd be able to get that guy to listen to jazz, much less. I mean, you know, if he wasn't interested in blues, there's no way he was going to listen to jazz, you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's, you know, it's something to be said too. I think, you know, everybody's musical taste and everybody's, you know, it's all just their own thing. And I mean, okay, you know, sure, some people are just, they have a very closed mind and they're not open to hearing other things. But I mean, at the same time, you know, I mean, I look at myself, like, I went to music school. I've played all different kinds of stuff. I've played jazz and funk, and I've played I've played everything. But, you know, I still, like, even though I know that and I have that knowledge of how to do that, I spend all my time, you know, or at least I play, you know, rock and metal, and I mean, I do some blues too. But, you know, like, you know, that's pretty much like everybody has their thing that they gravitate towards. So I get it.
Yeah, it was just weird to me because we were literally at school to be audio engineers. So how are you not going to come across the blues at some fucking point, dude, at the board? Hello? Yeah. You know, it just, like, it would have helped him on many levels. I just never understood it myself.
We're all on our journey, man.
Vince has been trying to. Vince has been trying to get me. I got tunnel vision. I'm a metalhead, but I mean, I appreciate the blues. Believe me, I appreciate a good blues guitarist and jazz. I mean, I appreciate it. I'm not going to spend my money going to see one, but I appreciate it. I understand how different. I mean, I'm taking guitar lessons now. I understand how difficult it is to pick up a guitar and just start playing. So
yeah, I cornered Fred with a heavy metal version of Funky Call Medina for Heavy Metal Monday yesterday by Leo from Frog Leap Studios. That's the only way I can get him to listen to something else.
He loves
that or drive him with alcohol.
Yeah. And at my age, all my friends are not into metal. I'm one of the few metalheads my age, and thank God my wife is into it, so she goes to concerts.
Well, they're into metal, but all of them are like pins.
It's the same in my age, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's what I listen to. I appreciate everything, and one of the greatest rock guitarist ever was Randy Rhoads, and he was ready to leave metal. He wanted to go classic. He wanted to be a classic guitarist.
Mhm.
What does that tell you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's all. I mean, especially you really if you learn music theory, you actually see this in a very black and white sense, and that if you look at the notes and musically that what's being played and rhythms and everything, like
Mhm.
there's a lot of carryover between these these styles. I mean, between blues and classical music, and then you compare that to rock and metal. It's such a it's such a seamless transition, and there's so many carry. The only thing that's different is it's the way it's instrumented, and then they maybe the feel is different too. But
When did you start? When did you pick up the guitar, Parker?
I picked it up. Well, it's an interesting question because I started taking lessons when I was like 10. But I mean, when I was a kid, my parents had like one of those cheapo like nylon string guitars or whatever. So
Yeah.
I had no idea what to play. But I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I pick it up and I strum it, and so that's
So
yeah.
what when you started taking lessons, what were they showing you? Did they show you?
I
blues,
mean,
or did you say,
I
wanna
didn't
learn rock?
really, I didn't learn any music theory until probably until I was like maybe like 16 or 17 years old, and I started working with a different teacher. I mean, initially it was all, I mean, yeah, when I first started playing guitar, I had no idea how to play scales or idea how to play chords or any of that shit. I would just, this note sounds cool,
Right.
I would just make noise with the fucking thing because I love the way it sounded.
Right.
So eventually it kind of, I had a teacher, he showed me some chords, he showed me how to play some riffs from some songs I like, showed me like the the pentatonic scale, the blues scale. So some basic stuff, and it kind of eventually I started to find ways to take out my inner wanting to get the sound of the guitar in a way that was musical.
Mhm.
It was a a gradual thing, but yeah, so that's somewhat it's a interesting journey with it. But
So now you can, because I've seen some of your Facebook posts when you were doing some shredding. Can you just listen to a song now and pretty much pick it up and play it?
I mean, pretty much if if it's something that I want to learn, I'll learn it. That's kind of my philosophy with guitar and music. I mean, that's I think part of being being a good musician and all that is not it's not just knowing how to do everything, but it's also constantly looking for things that inspire you and picking those things up and doing them in your
Yeah.
own way. And I mean,
Yep.
I listen to a lot of music, and I play guitar a lot, and I think super important part of that equation is just going and learning stuff. I mean, sometimes it'll I'll be listening to a song, I'll hear a phrase in this guy's solo or hear a riff or something. I go, oh fuck, stop that. Okay, I'm gonna sit there. What was that? Okay, and I mean I can do it by ear now, so it's it's a pretty quick process. But yeah, so it's I'm always picking stuff up. I'm always learning it. I mean, and of course, there's a whole world of guitar playing out there, man. Like there's a lot of stuff. I specialize in what I like to do and what I can do well. There's some crazy motherfuckers out there who are doing stuff that's just like completely in another planet. But I think it's beautiful too, because from where I'm standing, there's an infinite universe of ideas for me to get inspired by.
Mhm. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
For sure.
Leo,
So what's
question for
what's
you,
the
Leo, since
Go
I was
ahead.
just ask Leo a real quick question. Since you're the lyricist now, Leo, I'll put you on the spot here. Is there one song out there that you'd say, God, I wish I wrote that song?
WAP?
Oh, wow.
I know that's a tough question. I put you on the spot. But I mean, as
I
a
love it.
lyricist, is there just one song out there that you ever listen to? To me, I always think "Stairway to Heaven." Wow, wouldn't you love to have written that song? But just curious, is there one song
That's
out there that
good.
every
Robert
time you hear
Plant
it,
would have liked to
I
written
know.
that song too.
I'm sure if I had more time to think about it, I'd come up with something else. But if we're thinking straight, like just about lyrics, I think a good one that kind of lays it out in a really nice way, and you can take it as deep as you're ready to take it. It's Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath.
That's a great tune.
Yeah, because those lyrics they take you all the way around, man.
Yeah, and
Dio was amazing.
We lost storytelling in music there for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like metal, they usually tell a story, but like rock in general, and then popular music, it went away from telling stories. It's all phraseology. Oh, what's this phrase? It's that phrase. Let's repeat that 17 times, 20 writers.
What does it rhyme with? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So as far as tour prep, so what's the plans for prepping for the tour? Parker, when do you go over?
So I'm gonna head over there. Let's see, April. I'm gonna fly out April 7th. So we'll be there. Have a little bit of time. I can get over the jet lag. We can do some rehearsing, get everything tight. But yeah, I mean it's all it's all pretty straightforward. I mean we have most of the gear is pretty much we're able to get it out there, so we don't
cool.
I don't have to haul too much stuff. I just bring a couple guitars, bring the pedal board.
And that can get expensive shipping equipment, man, back and forth.
Yeah. But it's it's a pretty pretty good setup. It's all super easy, lightweight. I can carry it. So I mean that's pretty much it. Other than that, it's just kind of managing logistical stuff. So making sure we have hotels for this day, make sure we have transportation lined up, make sure we know we have backline, getting all the merch ordered and shipped and ready to go. That's pretty much what it is. And then from a musical side, I just sit here. I'll play through the tunes. If there's a part where I'm like, oh, this is a little tough to play, I'll work on it. But it's pretty straightforward. I don't like to get too strict and get too dialed in. The music's I gotta go up there and play it. Not recite it.
Right.
I don't like to be. I think if I overdo it, and Leo will tell you the same thing. I think if you over practice something and you strangle it to death, and it just it's not you might be able to dial it in where it's it's perfect. You can recite it out like a robot, but it's a stressful thing and it loses its energy. And I think
it's like putting a blanket over a fire.
Exactly. So I think the best way to do it is to just if put in the work, make sure you know what you're gonna do.
You guys know your shit,
Yeah, but I mean it's not there's no need to strangle it to death, don't
as long as you got your chops up, because you're the one who wrote this shit, so you're gonna be able to play it, right? So as long as you got your chops up, so you know that you have the speed required or the agility required or whatever it is, then you're good to go. You just got to trust yourself. If you start tripping on it, then that will lead to the next thing, which will lead to the next thing. And now you're no longer enjoying playing your own shit. And when you get to that point, well, people can tell.
But I think will you change your set lists from fest to fest?
So festivals are pretty much going to be the same. We might switch a tune or two out depending on how we feel. The headline shows will all be a little different, hopefully. We have some interesting stuff planned. There might be a song that is yet to be heard by anyone that we might play.
Breaking news.
You heard it here first. So yeah, it's gonna be really nice. But right now everyone's just doing their stuff, learning all the songs and making sure that chops are up to par. And then when we get together in Germany, we'll have a couple of rehearsals where surely we'll play through the songs, but maybe that's when you start working on some extra jams and stuff like that, transitions, and making sure that the show flows the way you want it to flow.
Yeah, it always blew my mind. Like, you'll hear people like we're talking to Brian Tatler, and I'm like, you had to learn a lot of material in a very short amount of time. He's like, yeah, we practiced like once or twice, and then we went on the road. I'm like, what? Like, of course, that just, he knows what he's doing. He's a professional. To me, that just blew my mind. You know what I mean? Granted, there's another guitar player on stage, but, Brian knows what he's doing, of course. But you hear all these stories. Yeah, we just did a one through one time, and then we went on tour. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's two things I'll say to that. I think one side of it is like, a lot of bands, you go on tour, the first show does not sound the same as the last show.
Oh, of course
over
not.
the span of that tour, there was
Hopefully
you figured
not.
stuff out, and you tried some new
Right.
things and something, but I mean, also, I think nowadays, especially nowadays, like if you need to learn a song, like it's so much easier to learn music nowadays than it was maybe 30 or 40 years ago. Because 30 or 40 years ago,
Yeah.
you had the record, maybe you had cassettes, or you had some way to slow it down to like 50%, and then you had sheet music. I mean, I guess, yeah, there's tabs back then too, but those you were basically relying on somebody to transcribe it. But I mean, if you're gonna go and play with a band, odds are they probably haven't transcribed every single last song in their catalog, and you kind of just have to use it by ear. But now, I mean, if you're a skilled, trained musician, you can use your ear to learn something. It's no big deal. But I mean, now you can get isolated tracks, you can slow things down, you can pitch shift it, you can do all kinds of shit to like make it easy for you to comprehend the part. So I think, if you get hired for a gig, like, you should learn the stuff, and the rehearsal shouldn't be you learning the song. It should be, you and everybody else who already knows the song just playing it together and make sure it gels. And then,
for sure.
pretty much it,
Right.
But
that would just stress me out. Like, oh my God, I've got to learn like 2.5 hours worth of what? He's like, yeah, I just did a song every day. But then I think about when I used to do special effects, we'd have 8 weeks to come out and do whatever we're doing, makeup, whatever, explosions, all this stuff. And we're literally finishing as we set it in front of the camera. Everyone else is freaking out, but we're all good because we know it'll be done as soon as camera rolls. You know what I mean?
Very good. Nice.
But,
I like it.
It's that same thing,
Absolutely.
But, hopefully, there seems to be a lot of good stuff coming out now from due to the plague that went around. But
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it's interesting seeing the stuff that's finally starting to, to trickle out. Of course, if you're a bigger organization, you got the cash that came out quicker, but it's interesting to see nonetheless. So you guys start your tour on 4/20. That's a big day here in the States.
Yes, it is.
There's a lot of significance to that day because it's also, what was it? It was the first date that you and I got in touch. Parker,
that was the day that April 20th, 2019, man, was the day that we met. So 5 years later,
it's my grandma's birthday.
And
there you go. Yeah.
We make sure that we celebrate that date properly every year.
Right.
So
Californian style, baby.
My wife's going to kill me for asking this, but she wants to know if both you guys are going to be shirtless on stage.
I will definitely be. I don't, here's the thing is that, having to, I don't like to have a big wardrobe, it's just, it's easier to not have to worry about, I got to have a new shirt for this show and all. It's like, no, and also it gets fucking hot on stage,
Right.
Just I don't, having to wear I hate wearing a shirt or wearing
which
a jacket
way to the beach.
It's not comfortable for me. So no, I will not.
Okay. I'll let her know. I'll let her know.
Fucking cold at one of these festivals, then I might throw a shirt on, but probably not.
Right. Yeah, I told Jason. I said, Jason, you should start doing some weekly guitar videos shirtless. Like Parker, he's like, no. I'm like, come on. Much different look for us, but you guys are in shape. You're looking great. Your music's kicking ass. You're about to take over the world. Nothing could be finer. And of course, wingsofsteelband.com. You can get their merch. You can get their music, and definitely go see them live if you're out in Europe. And if you're here in the States and you're a promoter, book these guys.
Book them. And maybe we'll see you next year or 2025 out here. Counting on it, guys.
Yeah, we're looking forward to
you can stay with us. You can stay with me.
Right,
there you go.
As long as you come in shirtless, so my wife will let you in.
I
Brian,
think,
why do I have to put this butter all over my chest? No.
yeah, the
I'm
sun
okay
is very
with it. I'm
strong
okay.
here. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think last
No.
interview you mentioned that it'd be nice having us play in your backyard over like a barbecue party or something. So we'll see what we can
Yes.
make
Oh
happen.
my God. I got a big enough backyard. We'll set it up. Vince can do the sound and we'll set it up, man.
There we go. Man.
Maybe you could do some backing vocals, Fred, huh?
Huh? Hey,
I'm
I'm up for it.
getting there. I'm getting there.
And Vince, you'll do some lead, right? For old time's sake.
Yeah, why
Yeah,
not?
Vince can do some lead.
Hell yeah.
Why not?
Cool.
I'll have to get the high
Which
note.
which song would you guys perform if you had to do a Wings of Steel one?
I love She Cries.
I would have to go with the bluesy tune.
Leather and Lace.
It's kind of got a Whitesnake vibe. I don't remember the name of the song, but I've listened to your album 1,000 fucking times.
Yeah. See the praise Slave of Sorrows, maybe? I would listen to it all this morning. Garden of Eden?
Is that one?
It could be Garden of Eden.
It's like Rhythm of
Garden of Eden.
Anyone?
Let me look at my review here, and I'll tell you which one was the bluesy one. Yeah, bluesy, funky tempo on Garden of Eden. That's probably the one you're talking about.
Garden of Eden.
Maybe. I have another question for you, actually. I'm just curious, since we're hanging out. It's been like an hour and 15. This is fun, you know? If we were to do one cover, which one would you have us do?
Oh,
Ooh, now you're putting us on the spot.
I think.
Lady Wore Black.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
And I've already imagined
take,
you guys playing that song. That's why I was like, oh, I know exactly.
I'm gonna go Painkiller by Priest.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can both showcase your talents, man. There's a lot of shit and guitar in there, and you could probably
Yeah, I'm still going with the Lady Wore Black.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that either.
And Queen's
Good
Right
songs.
is
Very good songs.
performing the EP in their first album in its entirety on this tour this summer.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I
And
think
Fred-
are they supported by Armored Saint, I think?
I think that's the.
Or was that some other tour? It might be some other tour.
Queensryche supported by Arbor Saint
Yeah.
without Jeff
Yeah.
Tate. Tate is on his own.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
I'm going to see him next week. He's got a tour company called Backstage Pass Travel, and we're going next week to New Orleans with him. So I'll be hanging with Jeff for the whole week.
Cool.
So
Very
I'll put
cool.
the good word in. I'll
Very
put the good word in there for you guys too. You want to see?
Oh,
us?
that'd be really cool, man. You should.
My problem is you guys might blow him off the stage though.
No, I don't think so, man. He's got a legacy that could touch anything. But you got to get him to send us a little video message, you know?
Oh,
I do it because I want Vince to talk to him because Vince wants to say hi. So I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
I'll do what I can do.
That's cool.
Take Hold of the Flame saved my life. That song literally I was homeless. I was living in my car. I was 17 years old, middle of winter, clothes on top of me, waking up, scraping the inside of the car, all the ice. And the last song I listened to at night before I went to bed, not knowing if I'd wake up, was Take Hold of the Flame. And in the morning after doing that, I would listen to that song again. And that gave me everything I needed to survive. And it sounds weird, but I know you guys understand because you're music lovers. Totally. So I've thanked everyone else in Queensryche except Jeff. So
you took hold of the flame and you've been burning it brightly ever since, man. Respect to you.
Absolutely. Well, I've tried to put it on. It's kept my joint lit, but you know. And okay, so we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Parker. Of course, we're your biggest supporters. You're welcome back anytime. Can't wait to hear the new song. Good luck on the tour. We'll be watching from afar, like proud uncles getting drunk on the back patio or up in the balcony. And yeah, man, I wish you guys nothing but the best. I think your band is fantastic. Yeah. You know what you're doing. Your heads are on straight, and you're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Can't begin to thank you guys.
You guys deserve everything that's come your way.
All right, and we'll see you guys next time on Monday Metal.
Monday Metal.